If you compare us to anybody in the business world, in our market, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anywhere that has so many employees that have been so loyal.
We really try to create an environment that people enjoy working in, and I think that's a big part of it. We also challenge people.
At times, indirectly, I hear about people saying how much they like working here or their family member worked here. You know, there's lots of things but I can put that on number one. Morning. Morning. How are you? Great. My grandfather, Gerard, was born in 1902 in Belgium. He lived through the First World War. He never served, but he did operate in the war as a bicycle repair man. He liked bicycles so much he got into professional racing, all before he came to Canada at the age of 22, leaving his family behind him, making his way towards Detroit, and met my grandmother, Serafina Adam, and they found their way to Norfolk County because he heard about the tobacco business.
He selected the Delhi area because of the growth potential with tobacco. He saw that as somewhere that he could provide his family the life he wanted to.
By 1932, he's already got 3 farms he owns. He goes on to buying lots of farms during the 30s, buying them, developing them, cutting tree lines down, working the land. Yeah, those are the 30s, and you can imagine it was the dirty 30s. It was not good times, so he just left the war. Now he's 10 years later, the beginning of starting a family of 7 kids.
From there, he's growing his own tobacco, helping immigrants come in and helping them start growing tobacco. Then they started irrigating tobacco, and that's when he kind of got introduced to this concept of irrigation.
Good. So far. Morning.
Thank you, sir.
So in the early days, the irrigation system looked like this. It was probably a 6-cylinder Chrysler engine, 120 horsepower tops, putting out 300-400 gallons a minute, going out to the fields with 4-inch pipe, tall risers with a sprinkler on top, set up to the tobacco fields. Lots of labor moving those sprinklers, because you'd have to put those sprinklers there for 4 hours and then take them apart and move them over to the next line.
A lot of the Belgian immigrants that came to Canada, they were looking to get started in tobacco and didn't know how. And being Belgian immigrants just 20, 30 years earlier, my great-grandfather and grandfather really wanted to help these people and help teach them how to grow tobacco and how to do it right. That typically meant irrigating it as well, too. So
Grandpa integrated into the community very much so during the 40s. He started by building a house on Pine Street, helping the development of the Delhi Belgium Club, which he was instrumental in being the landowner. Grandpa found this piece of property, and he went out and bought it quickly on a whim because the other clubs had an eye on it too, because it was a prime location for it. So he went and bought it, and then when they got together, the provisional committee, he ended up selling it to the Belgium Club for half of what he paid for it. So he bought it for $5,000, sold it for $2,500. So that's when it started. It took a while for it to get built. You can imagine it's wheelbarrows, bricks and bricks and bricks, and probably beers and beers and beers. So Grandpa actually lived right across the road. He built his house right across the road. And the business was right across from the Delhi Belgium Club. What a better spot to sell irrigation when you get pretty well all the local Belgians coming here on the Fridays and Saturday nights. And then when they're out in the parking lot, they could see all this irrigation equipment. Where are you going to go buy irrigation? We got a perfect spot. It didn't last forever, but I'm sure Grandpa knows that, you know, there's even with the all the business dealings he's done, the farms he's bought and sold, things don't last forever. It did close, sadly enough, and nothing but memories are kept. So the bricks and mortar are gone, the memories are still there. Morning, son.
Morning, Dad.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
Good. Well, Macy sleep.
Slept pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's happening this week?
I think we're all booked and ready to go for the open house next week for the lunch.
Yeah.
Yep.
So my great-grandfather was a farmer, but I don't think he had that much experience in tobacco at that time. But he came to Norfolk County, made some connections, I'm guessing learned what he was doing, and then he sent my grandfather, Roger, his son, to complete agricultural school. And then it was after my grandfather, Roger, graduated that they decided to start the irrigation company and supply the tobacco growers.
So from tobacco farmer to irrigation expert, the 50s was bringing on a lot of new technology for tobacco. So Grandpa became an agent in the winter for our competitor. So he would work for them primarily talking to the Belgians and selling irrigation to whoever, but primarily because they weren't bringing their English language over here, so he could talk to them. Then Grandpa started Gerard Vanden Bussche and Son. My dad was only 22 at the time, still in the University of Guelph. Two gentlemen from Kingsville had this distribution rights from Wade Drain out of Portland, Oregon for the aluminum coupling that connects pipe and the fittings to go with it. They stopped in Cortland and talked to Mr. Cadman, Wes Cadman, and asked them if he'd be interested in this coupling distribution. He said, no, we have our coupling. Our coupling's got no latches and it's got springs. That's fine. My grandfather was in the showroom at the time. He tapped the two guys on the shoulder. He says, could you meet me at the Belgium Club tonight for a beer? Success. We became the Eastern Canada distributor of Wade Drain couplings. Fact is, today Wade Drain is the only one lasting. That coupling with a spring has been gone for years.
The company originated as G. Vanden Bussche and Son, but then it evolved into Vanden Bussche Irrigation in 1954. When
it became Vanden Bussche Irrigation and Equipment, Grandpa was kind of stepping out of it. He already had farms on the go. He had share growers. He was busy. I'm sure he was helped selling irrigation stuff, but really he put the seed money in 1954 when my dad got married. Grandpa wasn't taking pay or anything. I don't even think he was getting any interest for the money he loaned. And so he just took it from there. In the 50s, the product was quite simple. The price list was on one page. You had 4-inch pipe, 5-inch pipe, 6-inch pipe, suction assemblies, 6-cylinder engine, V8 engine, and 3 choices of PTO pumps, plus fittings. It was simple. It was just consisted of pumps, pipes, and sprinklers. 54 was a huge year. The first year, there was $750,000 in sales. That was huge. The rest of the 50s wasn't so good. There's like 12 to 15 different irrigation companies. So we're competing against many different other types of couplings.
From what I know, I believe the 60s looked a lot like the 50s. We were a little bit more established at the time. We moved from our location in Delhi, right across from the Belgian Club, to this location just outside of Delhi. And it continued being pretty focused on tobacco growers at that time. There was a few new products brought to the market, bigger sprinklers that could cover bigger areas.
So a big gun is a unit that's on a mobile stand that goes in the center of the field and does a swath. So you have a 300-foot diameter. Much easier to move, quicker. I would still say today not the best way to irrigate because you're throwing too much water too fast, hence the sprinklers, but the time saver.
They introduced something called a power roll by Wade Drain, which was pipe with sprinklers that is actually on wheels, so you could move it a lot easier instead of picking it up and hand moving it all the time.
Just at the end of the 60s, we started bringing out hose irrigation, hose winders and stuff like that, but they were soft hose. 60s also brought something other than irrigation. It brought the Snowjet snowmobiles to the company. Vanden Bussche Irrigation became the Snowjet distributor for the province of Ontario in 1968. So we were not only buying them and selling them in our own use, we were selling them to a dealer network. We were buying 700 snowmobiles a year. This distributorship didn't last long. It only lasted about 3 years until the snowmobile craze went crazy and everybody started buying their Snowjets direct from Snowjet.
And at that time, we acquired a couple other irrigation companies that were in the area as well too. So the business kind of just kept continuing to grow slowly throughout the 60s.
From the beginning, it was Flew to Grew. He was started in 57 and he worked here for more than 45 years. I don't know how it came about, but it was probably a deal at the Belgium Hall that he saw that he wanted to come work with Roger, my dad. Flew's work ethic was unbelievable. You know, first one here, last one out. I think he's got the record of 98 hours per week. And I got the pay stubs, and he's getting $1 an hour. And then you could see they take their paychecks over to the Belgium Club, and they cash them at the bar. Brooke started in the 60s, and my dad had Brooke here doing all the management stuff, all the stuff behind, watching payroll, making sure everybody works and stuff like that. While my dad was out about working trade shows, setting up demonstrations, selling. Frugal, he's Scottish, but man of his word, he could really build a team. My dad being dad and Brooke being Brooke, you know, I've seen letters going back and forth over the years where, you know, they both get frustrated with each other, but they always seem to end up, you know, never carried over to the next day, I don't think. Back in 1974, we bought Rainbow Irrigation from Jack Pauley. And Jack Pauley was here for many years along with his son, Steve. And those two guys were instrumental in the growth of the company. Jack ran the shop. Steve was a mastermind of selling irrigation and designing systems.
The 70s for Vanden Bussche Irrigation came with a lot more new products. The biggest one being our connection with Bauer and hard hose reels. People were starting to see a lot of value in a piece of equipment like that, rather than hand moving aluminum irrigation pipe all over their fields. Now they had a mechanism that they could drag this sprinkler way out into the field and then have it retract on its own and move and irrigate lots of acres without a ton of work on their part. The family invested in this new technology deeply, and we're bringing in a lot of different machines and praying that they would sell. It was a big investment, and I'm sure there was some scary times in that too, of wanting to make sure this was going to pay off, right?
So the history with Bauer started in '78. There was a fellow named Elidio that worked out of British Columbia that was introducing Bauer to North America. We do some demonstrations and it takes off, it's a hit. Now these units are starting to roll in on, they come in by boat on an open top container, so they're on the top of the ship. So they come in by boat, they land in Montreal, they get on a train, and then the train brings them here. So they roll in by train, and you'd have these open top sea cans with 3 of these units in it per can. And you could see 10 to 15 of these cans. So you're looking at 30 to 40 machines rolling in. So it was a big event. And you had to do it fast because you had to get a crane in, lift them up, put tires on, get them out, because you're paying by the time at the train station. Somebody in town that knows with the product name Travelers, that we call these hard hose reels. They're called Travelers because they're a traveling gun. So we call them Travelers. My grandfather didn't realize we call them Travelers. So he hears in town that there's like 40, 50 Travelers coming to the Vanden Bussche business today. So he boots his way down here and he's looking around. He says, somebody tell me where all these Travelers are. We had to explain to him, these are what travelers are. But I can imagine how excited he was on his way here to find, travelers, people that he could talk to. Newcomers.
That was probably the biggest definition of what was happening in the 70s, was introducing this new technology to the irrigation market. And my grandfather, Roger, was the one who initiated that. But then sadly, a couple years later, he passed away suddenly at the age of 49. Once that happened, then it really fell on a lot of other employees, and especially Brooks Zowden at the time, who was managing the company. Luckily, we were really fortunate to have really good staff that could help us bridge that gap when Roger passed, until the next member of the family, my father, could come in. My father was only 17 years old. He wasn't able to manage a company at that point.
I was at a young age. I was 17, so you imagine what any 17, 18, 19-year-old is. He mentored me well. He'd give me hell once in a while, too, which I deserved. But, yeah, I was glad to have a male figure that got me to start. 80s, there's some diversity coming now. Not only with the reels that were going out the door by the dozens, and we would have 100 of them in the yard. We also brought on the industry center pivot irrigation. And if anybody's flown over the Midwest, they've seen the big circles in the fields. So that brought on a company from Lindsay with the product name Zematic. Another hit, Wade Rain, Bauer, Zematic. We're still knocking them out of the park because we've got all the best of the best.
We were starting to diversify outside of our little tobacco growers niche and into all sorts of other applications of irrigation. That was when my father really started getting involved in the business, and in many ways he was spearheading a lot of these new initiatives to diversify.
I'm working on pipe, I'm working on shipping, I'm working on deliveries. All those things take me to from 79 to 84. 84 on, I'm starting to do the sales aspects of things and stuff like that.
We started dealing with drip irrigation, which is a much more efficient way of using the water in order to irrigate.
There was another company also selling drip irrigation too, but he was focused just on drip irrigation, and he also had a vineyard where his family grew. So it was called Peninsula Irrigation. He saw what was coming with Vanden Bussche Irrigation because he knew the company. With all the other things we're selling, now we're getting into drip irrigation. He basically said, I want to sell my business. He didn't see any potential growth in it.
And then we started dealing with turf irrigation as well through residential and commercial contractors and with golf courses. So we quickly went from this quite focused tobacco irrigation company to now doing just about all different types of irrigation that you could think of.
90s, it really started changing with the landscape irrigation. We really elevated it a lot in 1994 with Rainbird and Rainbird Golf. We took on the acquisition of Shebman Nurseries, which was well established in Toronto and leading the irrigation market in the province. So the 90s, it rolled out with Shebman Nurseries acquisitions and bringing on some of the people from Shebman Nurseries, mainly Andrew Gaden.
So we were strictly wholesale. We didn't sell to the public. So we sold plant material, greenhouse plants, fertilizer, chemicals, and irrigation. And then they decided to close. And that's when I had to look for another job, and they asked me to see if I could sell the business. And that's when I approached Mark, who at the time was an occasional customer of mine, and vice versa.
Andrew called me on September 2nd, 1994. He's our competitor, but I've known him well through the years, and I used to shop there, even pick up back orders. And we belonged in the Irrigation Association together. He knew right away that he wanted to come work for me. So we basically went up there, Rented the property from the new owner. We didn't buy the property, and bought all the assets, the coffee maker, the fridges and everything. Staff just took the phone number, changed the sign, and away we go.
When I joined Vanden Bussche, we decided to get into Rainbow Golf. And at that time, I was dabbling in Rainbow Golf, but we needed the support of Rainbird to do a good job. And they decided that with the background of Vanden Bussche, they would give us Rainbow Golf exclusively. That was very, very important to us.
It's a really difficult market to break into. Manufacturers really want you to service what you sell, and so they have geographic regions that you're able to service. It's one of those things where you have to have a reputation to get into the business, but it's hard to get into the business if you can't build a reputation.
When we got Rainbird as an exclusive for Ontario, that was very important. And one of the first projects that Mark and I did was Glen Abbey Golf Course, which is a very well-known golf course, as I'm sure you know. We worked on that together and things just went from good to better.
Morning.
That was Vegas?
Huh. I left it behind. I was up, then I was down. Well, Henry, whose is this?
I always forget his last name. Jordan, he's just grows potatoes just around the corner here.
Yep.
I don't remember personally much of the time that my dad moving into management, because I was born when my dad was 30 years old, and it was right around 30 years old when my dad moved into management.
I would say in the beginning, I didn't really understand the totality of Vanden Bussche Irrigation and really like what it meant. I was just a kid. My dad went to work. I don't know, I just didn't really understand that until I got a bit older, and then I realized, oh, family business.
Slowly by 96, I'm taking more role of the general management. Brooke still stays on here, and Brooke takes the role of being a salesman, being, an ambassador. My mom's still here, and she's still coming in every day. She's still watching it. She's still talking to Brooke every day. She's still asking Brooke, is he doing all right? I wasn't rampant on taking over as general management. I had backup and some great ladies in the office to help me. With even Janice, or another instrumental person was Lori. She was a controller. She had to come in here because we started growing and we needed a financial controller, not just accounts payable. So I'm surrounding myself with, I got Brooke, my mom, I got Andrew, I got Lori. Those 90s and the 2000s were good for me.
The early 2000s, we purchased the Vanden Bussche Learning Center, which is a farm just a few minutes down the road here from our shop. That was a big investment, but it was one that my dad, I could tell, he was thinking of the future.
It's another one of those things where Mark's got this idea, and I went to Mom. The farm was up for sale. I was driving by. It was a rough shape. It was dirty looking. I convinced my mom that they don't make land anymore. We're a healthy company, and we could buy this and do this on the farm of many trade shows, which we've done throughout the years. Develop it, just blood, sweat, and tears. No different than in 1930 when my grandfather was going to all these farms that he was buying, working soil properly, and making it into a better farm.
It's a place for us to experiment with irrigation, whether it be Vanden Bussche Irrigation employees, suppliers, customers. This is really a big sandbox to go try something new and probably fail a few times along the way, but try to keep innovating, try to keep finding new ways to irrigate.
We used to do experimental drip systems at the research station, Ontario Research Station, Simcoe. You have a plot that's about the size of this room, hooked up to a hose bib with little emitters, and we show the benefits of drip irrigation. Farmers don't, that's not it. show me 50 acres. I want to see 50 acres, how you did it, how you dug it in, turning it on, and blow it up. Show me how you fix it. So we can do that.
When I started with Vanden Bussche, I was manager of the turf and golf division, and we had a very large place in Milton and a smaller satellite place in Scarborough. After a few years, we opened in King City, and after a few years more, we closed King City and opened in Concord.
Okay, the international market pretty well started with one customer, Rusky Gazon, Roman. Long story short, Roman had a great business in Moscow. He had a shoe factory. So Roman's factory was in the second circle of Moscow. So it was very valuable for him to sell the property. So he sold it all, got out of this. He brought his son to York University, Toronto, along with his wife. So as Roman comes to visit, he goes to a trade show in Toronto in January, and he talks to a customer of ours, Jerry Brower Sod Company. And Roman proceeds to tell him that there's no sod farm in all of Russia. Nobody grows sod. You know, we're talking in '98, so things are going fast. Dollars are going wayside and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into politics of Russia. So Jerry goes over to there, helps him start up a sod farm, and it's dry, and then needs irrigation. So Roman says, what do I do? And he says, I've been contacting Spain, Italy, France, trying to get some irrigation out here. They'd pretty well just give me a book and say, pick what you want and we'll give you a price. Jerry says, next time you come to Canada, come to Delhi, we'll go talk to Steve Pauley. Steve's going to work things out for you, and we'll figure it out, and you'll have a system like I'm coming to use up north of Toronto. Roman comes, small town Delhi, all the way from Moscow, briefcase with all the monies in it that he wanted to spend. He goes to Steve's office, they work it all out. Steve prices them all a brand new product. It's too much money. Jerry says, Steve, what's the solution? Well, Steve, I got a good diesel pump here. I got good used pipe. I make the deal. We ship it all over there. So it all started by irrigating a sod farm in Moscow. Roman has his next problem is he's selling the sod to all these different places, and the sod is dying. So what to do? Well, we can help you with that too. So we go over there and we start showing him and his staff how to put lawn sprinkler systems in. So we do the Red Square, we do the Kremlin, we end up doing St. Petersburg Palace, doing the dacha of the president of the airport, on and on and on. It's great business. We did some projects in the Ukraine. Hopefully we will get back there again someday. And our biggest project ever was a pump project in Azerbaijan. We did it for the president's wife. She developed some farmland, and we sold over 40 pumps on that project. It was a big project.
We designed and installed a sprinkler system for the Honda factory in Alliston, which was huge and complex. Because of that, we got a good reputation for that type of project, and we have done various university campuses and the sports fields, and we did some large golf projects throughout the province. St. George's in Etobicoke, which is one of the top golf courses in Canada.
If you compare us to anybody in the business world, in our market, or just in the business world in itself, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find anywhere that has so many employees that have been so loyal. We have employees who have been here for 30, some 40 years, and I don't think that you find that anymore.
Yeah, we have a lot of long-term staff that have worked here. I think we really try to create an environment that people enjoy working in. And I think that's a big part of it. We also challenge people, and when we find the right people that are looking for a challenge and looking for something that they can really make a career out of that's going to make the world a better place, I think they really grasp that and they really want to keep doing it.
I don't really think I have like one word that really encompasses our company culture. I've tried to come up with this answer so many times, but I don't think there's one word. The closest I can get is familyness, and it's just the fact that, you know, here we're a family. We are a business for sure, but we treat each other like family. There's that mutual respect. We're friends. You know, we come to work. We want the culture to be uplifting. We want people to come to work and feel like they can do a good job. They have the tools to do a good job. They can be productive. They can be fulfilled. That's always something we communicate about, is it's important to have a good work-life balance for our employees, because our employees are everything. They're what drives this place, and we just want everyone to feel like work is never a burden. It's somewhere where you're happy to go to, and you feel like you're supported and respected.
I think one of the biggest benefits of being a family owned business for so many generations is that we really stand behind everything we do. We really put our name on it. Make no mistake, there's been losses over the years, bad decisions, or we haven't done right by a customer before, but when our name is on it and our reputation is on the line, we don't have any other choice but to eat it, try to make it right, and try to make sure that stuff doesn't happen again.
We've had customers that have been with us since 1954. Of course, now in 2024, it's next generation. So we have customers whose grandfathers shopped with us and now they shop with us and they're a customer of ours. So we just provide good product and good service, and they're loyal.
I have a few really close friends who they're buying irrigation equipment from us now. His father bought irrigation equipment from my father, and his grandfather from my grandfather. Yeah, those are really special relationships. It feels like we're really doing something special when you're dealing with those people.
Well, the way we adapted with a lot of the new crops that are coming in and adapted with crops going out, farms are getting bigger. The measurement of water and energy is getting bigger. There's more on-site irrigation experts on farms. They're knowing their systems. They're knowing the worth of water. They're delicately using it because they realize, you know, every gallon you put out has a horsepower to it, so that horsepower has an energy that costs you money.
One of the biggest milestones of recent was our launching of our mobile app, which is a software where people can purchase their products online. And we launched it in a little bit of a different way than most e-commerce platforms. It was my thought that our customers don't spend a lot of time sitting behind a computer screen. Whether they're a farmer, they're running a golf course, or they're a contractor, they usually have their steel-toe boots on and they are out and about. So we actually took a little spin on our e-commerce platform and created it as a mobile app. And I think it's a big differentiator and why it's done so well is because it was really designed to work specifically for our customers. We've invested a lot into different types of irrigation technologies that are making the lives of our customers easier. We've invested in a lot of different technologies for customer service to make sure that we're serving the customer the best that we can. We've been trying to be creative and innovative with some of how we do this. So we've actually started creating shipping containers where we'll put shelving, lights, ventilation, and all sorts of different things like that in there, and it's its own mini store. When an irrigation emergency happens, it's an emergency. There's acres of a crop that's drying up by the moment, There's a golf green that is drying up by the moment, or a commercial landscape that needs fixing like right away. Time is very precious in those instances, and so this is just another way that we're trying to have the products needed available when they're needed.
Or something.
We can figure out.
It's not a wedding. Like, it doesn't need to be draped and like have too fancy. Like, hay bales, mums. Like I said to Dad, we can have like kind of like a built wall or built something where we can hang all these like year progression photos.
For pictures and stuff or something even?
Yeah, just so people can
like a picture opportunity spot.
Yeah, and I think then people can kind of walk by that and kind of see like, oh, look at 1967 compared to 2020 or whatever.
Well, actually today I'm elevating them to more positions, giving them more work and probably taking less work for me. Still making the triangle that's Dad, Jared, and Jillian, but roles and responsibilities will be more shared amongst the three of us. So, yeah, for the next 10 years, the three of us will be running the company with Dad in control. I won't be just stopping in at 9 o'clock in the morning and saying how the deposit is, because I already know what it is, because technology tells me. So.
Good morning.
Hello.
Sorry, I'm gonna have to let you go, Heather. Kidding.
There's always a vision of growth. I mean, who doesn't want a business to grow? But sustainability and like loyalty, like I said, I want the good people that we have to feel like they can stay with us, they can grow their careers, and that everybody can just work as a team and really just help the business strive for better.
Our success was through service. If you offer the customer service, it may be a little expensive at the beginning, but in the end, you will reap the rewards.
We're in this for doing good, by whether it's for the planet, for our employees, for our customers, for our suppliers. We're seeking win-win situations in every deal that we come across.
I think I'm a pretty damn good judge of character, and if it's not a good character around me, I don't want the character around me. So, and I've had some characters around me, I tell you. At times, indirectly and directly, I hear about people saying how much they like working here or their family member worked here. I keep my ear to the ground, and I get those. I get notes once in a while. I get those things put in my ear a bit. So, yeah, that's there's lots of things but I can put that on number one. I can't tell what the next 70 is going to look like. The next 10, exciting, fun, steady growth. Some will be leaving, some will be coming. There's going to be some that are here right now. They're going to be here for the next 30 years, I hope. But maybe another party.